The NFL is in Indianapolis. It's the NFL Scouting Combine at the Indianapolis Convention Center, and we have a special edition of More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. Hello, everybody. Hope your weekend is off to a good start. Welcome to this special NFL Scouting Combine edition of More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. I'm Dave Bacon. All of the NFL has descended upon Indianapolis for this year's Scouting Combine, as they always do. That means the Browns' new front office and head coach, Andrew Berry, the GM, Kevin Stefanski, the head coach, meeting with the national media, meeting with scouts to try to build that roster out into a playoff contender. Kevin Stefanski had a chance to talk about his relationship with Andrew Berry and how they are definitely in alignment.
Yeah, Andrew and I have had a pretty good relationship prior to this job for me. He's somebody, again, that I met way back when, was introduced to by Leslie Frazier when Andrew was with the Colts. And then we've stayed in touch. I mean, we've talked a lot this past season. So I don't feel like there was a period where there was a lot of having to get to know each other. I think we were already there.
So what does that mean then for, as you're at things like this and you're talking about the future of the Browns, trying to figure all this out?
Yeah.
Can you just describe a little bit what you two are like together?
So describe our breakfast the other day.
I mean, I would write.
He had a burrito. I just think it's important that we can talk about our vision for the team, but it has to be shared, and that's why we spent a lot of time when Andrew first was hired. We spent a lot of time together with Paul and Dee and Jimmy and JW and Whitney, and really honing in on the vision for this football team and making sure that it was a shared vision. So those conversations have been happening, and it doesn't happen with just a snap of the fingers. We've been working hard at it.
But obviously you're building a roster right now, but do you feel pretty locked in about what that vision is right now? Again, you've had those discussions.
Yes.
Do you feel like it's...
Oh yeah, we're very clear on what we want to be. Now, it's my job and our coaches' jobs to, when we get the final roster, to make sure that we can win in a couple different ways. So that thing is always something that you may change week to week in terms of how you attack a defense. So it's our job, once we get our players, to really form that plan of attack.
Kevin, now that you've had Joe Woods in the league for a bit, to what extent does Joe Schobert fit what you and Joe and Andrew have in mind for that middle line?
Yeah, I think Joe's a good football player. I have not gotten a chance yet to get in front of him, as you can imagine, but I think from everybody that I've spoken to in the building about Joe the person, I think it's A++. So really looking forward to seeing how this whole process plays out, but this is free agency, so it has to, like Andrew mentioned earlier, it has to be both sides, and I'll just wait to see how this thing shakes out.
With Kareem Hunt, there's a little bit of a business decision that does have to be made there. Is the decision easier or harder for you guys, do you think?
Easier, harder?
As far as bringing him back, is it just a no-brainer bringing him back, or is it something that you guys really have to huddle up and have an in-depth discussion about?
I think Kareem's a good player. I've had conversations with him already. I think there's a future for Kareem here, obviously, and we'll work through all that. But he's a player certainly that we're eager to get to work with.
Jimmy, when you finished, you said you went through the roster or went through the game film last year to get a good idea what this roster is like. When you got done with it, did you say, man, there's more holes than I thought? Or, you look at defense, you say, well, linebackers kind of unsettled, safety's unsettled. Is that kind of the feeling you had? Or?
No, I think, again, I said it a little bit earlier, I don't know that any team looks at the roster and says, we're there, we're done. So I think it's going to be a yearly thing where you say, all right, we maybe have depth here that we want to address, or there's a spot here where we really want to go get an impact player, but I feel confident with AB and his staff. I think we'll be able to identify some guys that will help us this year moving forward. But to say that every team's going to have the perfect roster going into week one, I don't think that's realistic.
New Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski, he talked about his relationship with Andrew Berry. We'll hear from the Browns' new GM on the other side of break. We have to take a quick time out. Stay with us. More on this special NFL Scouting Combine edition of More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions, or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had two choices. I was accepted into a 4-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. This special edition of More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners edition from the NFL Scouting Combine, continues. Browns have a new GM as well, Andrew Berry. We've heard from Kevin Stefanski, the head coach. The new GM, Andrew Berry, made it clear he is a big fan of Kevin Stefanski's. They have a great working relationship. Other than that, he's playing everything close to the vest.
What position groups do you think really jump out in this draft?
Yeah, so I'm not going to comment on specifics with the draft class. Just let you know that there are a number of really good players across the offensive and defensive side of the ball. We're really early in the draft process, and we'll certainly narrow our targets as we go throughout the spring. But again, there are a number of really talented players across offense and defensive side of the ball.
What's easier to evaluate, talent or character?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say they are both equally challenging. And certainly depending on the position and depending on the skill set, but they're both tough, and they're both something that we spend a lot of time on throughout really the 18-month cycle for a particular draft class, and it's something that we're going to dig on more here over the next couple of weeks.
Is it that much more difficult to evaluate character because you're not, you can see a guy do 100 plays on tape, but with character, is it that much more difficult because you only have 18 minutes or whatever it is to kind of find out who a guy is?
So that's a good question. So from our perspective, a character evaluation isn't just when we sit with a player during an interview setting. It really starts with the legwork that our scouts do in the spring, talking to coaches, talking to support staff, understanding the individual from people who have been with that particular player for 4 or 5 years throughout their college career. We will supplement that with interviews throughout the All-Star game circuit, throughout the Combine, and then when we're able to go on campus for their pro days, bring them in-house for top 30 visits, and meet with us individually. But it's more than just this week, and so we have a number of different touch points that give us information.
Do you have like a grade sheet, or is it more just like an evaluation via the written word?
No, it is a very kind of structured evaluation process for the character background of a particular prospect.
No specifics, I know, but trade talks start here, right? True or false?
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Maybe.
That's fair.
Kevin was talking about how he's going to lay out the off the field expectations on April 6th. Well, is that going to be all him, or will you say anything?
Yeah, look, the head coach is the primary voice, to our players, and that's something for us to make sure that we reinforce on a daily basis, as a front office and management team. So, we're going to do everything to support coach, support the principles that we've established here, but he is going to take the primary lead.
With talent and character, is it a 50-50 split, or is it something along the lines of something else?
I don't know that there's like a hard and fast split between it. Really, every situation is unique, and you take every situation on an individual basis. Look, there are some characteristics that we would view as non-negotiable. You've heard us talk about smart, tough, and accountable with guys, but we're also cognizant of the fact that nobody's perfect and people do make mistakes, but we want to make sure that guys are consistently behaving and conducting themselves in a manner that's befitting of the Cleveland Browns.
We've heard from the Browns' new head coach. We've heard from the Browns' new general manager. We're here with the rest of the entire NFL. Time to find out what they think about the new Browns power structure. We'll have a national perspective on the Browns' new head coach and general manager when this special edition of More Sports and Less Levine from the NFL Scouting Combine in Indianapolis continues.
Celebrate Naturestone's 30-year anniversary with a free Naturestone floor. During 2020, we will be giving away 30 free floors to 30 very lucky customers to say thank you for making Naturestone the best concrete flooring solution for garages, basements, and more. Call or visit Naturestone.com today to register to win, and we'll send you a copy of our new buyer's guide absolutely free. There's no purchase necessary. Winners will be chosen monthly. With over 30 million square feet installed for more than 60,000 customers, it's easy to see why I always say, it's not just a floor, wow, it's Naturestone.
Got your Ohio Lottery pick 3, I see.
Yup. Those glasses are hip.
Hip? Most people think I'm a square. But what's wrong with that? A box bet can increase your chances of winning. And what is a box? A square. There are so many ways to play. There's coming out the wazoo. Oh, shucks. Look at me yammering on. Put a lid in it, Picky Ricky. Play the Ohio Lottery Pick 3 today.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Welcome back to More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition, a special edition from the NFL Scouting Combine in Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm Dave Bacon. The Browns were the it team nationally a season ago. Some projected them to win the Super Bowl. Most projected them to be a playoff team. They had 6 wins in the regular season, and that led to an entire restructuring of the organization. A new head coach, a new general manager. They still do have Baker Mayfield. We'll get some national perspective on Baker's play and what might need to change. But one thing is certain. People that have been around the NFL for a number of years seem to be huge fans of new Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski.
Well, I know Kevin very well, and I think Kevin's a great hire for the Browns. I really do. I think when you look at him, everybody says, oh, he's analytics, and he's much more than that. He's a Philly guy. Philly guys come and they got a little edge to him, and Kevin has an edge to him, and I think it's a good mix between analytics and a guy who understands what it takes to win in this league.
A guy that you would consider an up-and-coming guy as well. I mean, relatively young.
Yeah, and we have a tendency in this business to judge these guys right away when you really don't know. How's he going to handle the room? How's he going to handle his players? Being a guy who's from Philly, who's come up through the ranks, his dad's an NBA general manager and been around for a long time. He understands what it takes to be a successful coach in this league, and I think he's going to be. I really do. Again, though, it's how you manage your people, and do you instill discipline on a team that, quite frankly, needed it.
Do they still have the talent? I mean, everybody thought they had talent to do this, that, and the other thing. Were they accurate with the talent, just not used the right way a season ago, you think?
Well, they got all caught up in the bells and whistles and forgot about the big guys up front. I don't care what you have on offense, whether Baker Mayfield is taking the next step or you get Beckham, you have Landry. But if you can't block, you aren't having success. They have to improve the tackle position on that team.
Andrew Berry is kind of identified as one of those analytics guys, but he's a guy that came up in Indianapolis, with Bill Polian as a football guy. Is he a legitimate football guy, a football guy, as they say?
We get too caught up in the analytics stuff. Football has always had analytics. It used to be called stats. Now they call it analytics. And then again, it's identifying players. Can he fit in? What do the numbers tell you? Only enhance what you see on the tape. I think you can't just go, I'm an analytics guy. You have to be involved with the tape. The tape tells you the story more than the analytics, but they're nice to have if you can use it as a supplementary piece.
Made a big deal about making sure general manager, head coach were in alignment. How critical is that to getting it right in any franchise?
Well, I think it's critical because you see these fractures on teams, and next thing you know, you got a coach and a general manager fighting over things. You want to see it as smooth as possible because you want to have guys who are having the same vision for the football team. And I think in Barry and Stefanski, they have that same vision.
You know, they made a big deal about making sure general manager and head coach were in alignment. How important is that in any franchise?
Yeah, I think it's a critically important factor, and it's one of those things that when they are, we don't talk about it that often, right? If you're in alignment, if the coaching staff understands what the scouting staff wants and vice versa, then we don't have to spend too much time belaboring it because things just kind of work. And it's been sort of a fleeting goal for the Browns for a while now, but the early indications, and we're not even 2 months into the tenure of Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Barry, suggest that these are two men that are in alignment. And hopefully by this time next year, we're no longer talking about whether they're in alignment or not, right? That they are fully invested in the process of getting this roster right. There are some unique pieces on the roster already that give you some hope, but hope only goes so far. Ultimately, you got to win more games, and I know Browns fans have been clamoring that for a long, long time.
That leads me right into the next question I was going to ask you. Is there the type of talent that everybody thought was there when they were saying 10 wins, 11 wins, 12 wins?
Well, the key thing is you have a quarterback, and I don't know the full pulse of where Browns fans are after last season with Baker. He left some room for improvement clearly, and there were some mistakes and probably too many interceptions, and maybe, I don't know about an aggression from his rookie year, but it felt like the last, let's say, 6 weeks or so of 2018 were such an upward pointing arrow that when things kind of taper off last year, it almost feels like a step back. But a lot of unique ability for Baker, certainly a guy that has a lot of the requisite skills to be a long-time successful quarterback in this league. And when I look at the roster, if you have that box checked, then I give you a chance to make everything else work as a result of that. Probably will be interesting to see that some of the players that have been acquired over the past few years that you think are ready to help you win right away, how do they fit long-term into this puzzle? But I think the flexibility is solid. Draft capital is enough. Roster flexibility in terms of salary cap space should be good, so they do have the assets to acquire pieces if they so desire.
How important is a quarterback coach for a young quarterback? You know, they had a first-time head coach, first-time really full season coordinator, first-time quarterback coach. I mean, it was almost like there was nobody he could really go to, a go-to guy.
Well, you know, some guys can be great in their first time doing it, and some coaches need some experience or learn from some experience. Well, so what I would say is rather than necessarily pinning it on how many years you've done it, I would just say that I think Baker needs to find somebody he can trust, somebody that he feels that in good times and bad, I know it sounds like marriage, but I mean, that's sort of how these quarterback-coach dynamics can be sometimes. And then beyond that, someone that will be there for a while. He wants to believe that he's going to be there for a while so that he can feel as though what he is being taught or what he is being coached is foundational to him and his success going forward.
Last thing I'll ask you, is this a team to keep an eye on still, you think, that you know, could make a pretty big jump?
Yeah, you know, I feel like part of me is saying the instinct of not repeating 2019 where you thought the jump was going to be there, and so maybe this is a year to go the other way and just say, hey, we'll see. So my answer would be we'll see in a short form, but the offseason is basically 32 teams with hope, which is a good thing in the NFL. And if you had told me last year at this time, do I think the 49ers will be playing the Super Bowl after finishing 4-12 with the second pick in the NFL draft, I would have said you're crazy. So I'm a believer that NFL teams there will be at least one each year that will make that substantial turnaround, and perhaps we were all just a year too soon on the Browns.
What did you see last year, and was it as tough as Browns fans made it out to be?
Well, I mean, it was tough. I mean, Browns fans, myself, I'm a fan of Baker Mayfield and quarterback play. I mean, he spoiled us his first year. That was special. You don't see that happen every year where a guy just comes in and just starts to light the league on fire. So, I think maybe our expectations were a little high, and I think we all just thought, oh, he's Baker Mayfield. He's won the Heisman. This will be easy for him. No, this is the NFL. It's a different game. Teams study your tendencies, you as personal player, and then your offense and things like that. And of course, there was a lot of other things going on in that Cleveland organization this year. But yeah, it was a little bit of a regression, let's say, but not the one where I'm concerned of. I don't look at Baker Mayfield and go, oh, the future doesn't look good. No, I think Baker Mayfield is a baller, a superstar. I think he gets to clean up a few things technique-wise, and he'll learn a little more football as far as his X's and O's and what to read in defensive coverages and continue to grow. It's only his third year coming up, so there's a lot of time left for him to keep getting better.
As a guy who played the position at the NFL level, how tough is it when you have a first-year head coach that's an offense, and a first-year head coach as a quarterback. There really didn't seem to be a guy that is going to tell him, this is what's going on, you need to fix this and this.
Sure, yeah. I mean, yeah, maybe some of those nuances got lost in the shuffle a little bit. You're right, because Freddie Kitchens, as he's trying to call plays, maybe can't pay attention to some of the finer details of technique because he's worried about doing, the game planning for the week or whatever it may be. So those little things, they might mean jack crap in May and June. But all of a sudden you get in one little bad habit and it starts to filter, and all of a sudden you get to late October and you go, damn, I miss this route or this read every time. And why is that? Well, there's a number of things. The biggest thing I would say with Baker Mayfield too, just going back to the drawing board a little, there was two things that jumped out to me about him last year. One was reaching really far back with his arm, like to throw the ball 105 miles per hour. I want to be like, 100's good enough. You have a great arm. You don't need to reach for more. The other thing was footwork, and I know that's been talked about in Cleveland a lot. But for anybody out there, if you're standing on a clock and you want to throw the ball at 12 o'clock, right? Well, alrighty, you got to step in the general direction of 12 o'clock. He makes a lot of throws where he throws to 12 o'clock and steps at 10 o'clock or 9:30. And it's just really hard to be consistent and hit the bullseye like that all the time. And that's what a quarterback coach will do, being on his case day after day.
Do you like Kevin Stefanski and Alex Van Pelt as the guys in the room that are doing that and cleaning that up?
I do. Now, listen, I've been a little critical of Kevin Stefanski and, the offense, and I'm not sure. And listen, I hope he does a great job and proves me wrong and can say, screw you, Chris Sims, and I'll be all for that. I'll be the first one to say that. I do think, however, yes, they will be the right guys, both of them, to stay on top of those, what we would say, smaller details. One thing I'll say about Stefanski is, yeah, the offense isn't as vast and expanded as I would like, but what they do, they do it really well. They know exactly what they're doing, and there's no mess of them. And when you do that kind of stuff and run that kind of offense, yes, that can hone in on player technique. Ooh, offensive lineman, you need to lead with this foot on this running play. Quarterback, hey, I need your drop to be a quick 5 instead of a big 5, or whatever it may be. And I think they are the right guys for that.
Last thing I'll ask you, is this still a team that has the talent that everybody thought they had a season ago when they were saying 10, 11, 12 wins?
I do. I don't question the talent. We talk about being battle tested because that's a real thing in football. The NFL is so close, and really most games come down to, it's these 3 plays, and can we outperform them? And that's part of being battle tested. Like New England hasn't gotten lucky for 20 years straight. They're battle tested. They know how to handle those situations. Coaches in the right way. Players execute it. I think it's just being about gritty, being a little tougher, and being better in some of those situational football areas that can get them over the hump. But I think the talent is still there, and of course they need a few players, like every team, but they're still good.
Offensive line is definitely an area the Browns will need to address to upgrade this roster. We'll hear from some of the guys at the Combine. The Browns will be looking at the offensive linemen straight ahead. When more sports and less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition, a special edition from the NFL Combine, continues.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had 2 choices. I was accepted into a 4-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
If a piston makes it go, it's in this show. March Motor Mania takes over the 2020 Summit Racing Equipment IX Piston-Powered Autorama. March 13th, 14th, and 15th at the IX Center. Show cars, antique trucks, construction equipment, hot rods in the Asylum, motorcycles, military vehicles, and themed car clubs. New for 2020, the Throwdown Monster Trucks and the return of Fat Man's Invasion. With Euros, imports, sport compacts, and lowriders. Kids 12 and under are free. PistonPowershow.com for details. Discount tickets on sale at Discount Drug Mart locations and Summit Racing Equipment in Talmadge.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery, Partners in Education, where stars shine.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
Here, let me show you how this works.
it takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
And to keep your family comfortable, it takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling. Find them at smiley1.com.
Welcome back to a special edition of More Sports and Less Levine, the weekend winners edition from the NFL Scouting Combine in Indianapolis. Well, the Browns probably need 3 new starting offensive linemen. The good news, this is a draft that is deep in offensive linemen, and the Browns select at number 10. And there are a number of choices based on who might be available. 3 of the guys that everybody seems to like a lot, Mekhi Becton, Tristan Wirfs, and Andrew Thomas. They all had a chance to meet the media and said some very interesting things.
I'm going to shock a lot of people. I feel like I'm going to shock a lot of people on these testings. They don't expect me to do the things that I'm about to do.
Anything in particular?
Nah, you'll see.
Positions would you like to play? Obviously, your body shoots offensive line. Talk about being an athlete. What position would you like to play?
Offensive line, yeah. That's just what I played all my life. Ain't no point in changing it. So. If they want to give me the ball, I can score for them. They need me to. They can throw a little tackle pop. I can catch. I got little hands. No, sir.
You expect to?
Yes, sir.
Would you like to?
I would love to.
What about the Giants is intriguing to you?
The blue and red. Nah, I just like how grimy you guys are. Just love the New York griminess. Open the hole and run behind me. I can get you to score a touchdown, pretty much. Just run behind me. You're gonna score. No. I'm gonna still block my tail off no matter who behind me. I'm still block my tail off no matter who behind me.
How do you approach a smaller pass rusher like a
Like a bigger pass rusher. I gotta approach him the same way like I approach everybody else. I just gotta approach them the same way. I can't change up what I do just because the person I'm going against.
When you had your former with the Browns, did they harp on anything? Did they keep? I mean, what did they focus on?
My technique. We was watching my technique the whole time. They were telling me what I was doing wrong. They told me they showed my good plays, they showed my bad plays. So they were telling me what I did wrong on my bad plays and what I did good on my good plays.
So with your pass set, you said that's something you want to just talk about some of the technical things.
I got to improve on my hand placement, and sometimes I stand up. I be too high sometimes. Some people get in my chest. I feel like that's what I got to work on the most. Bradley Chubb. I was just a freshman. I was new to the game, so it was like, oh, this is real. So yeah, that was my first challenge. I think it'd be the similar transition. I wouldn't think it would be rough because I feel like the vets will help me out. I keep hearing good things about vets when you get to the league, so they're gonna help me out a lot.
You know, wrestling, it's a pretty big thing in Iowa, but I think there's 2 big things you can take away from wrestling that translate over to football. It's, body control and and awareness, hand movement. But being able to do that, I think shows teams, how competitive I am. It takes a lot to be a wrestler, especially people from Iowa will attest to that. And they're two individual sports, so it's just you versus another guy. And I hate losing, so I'm not going to let another man beat me. I'm going to do everything I can to stop it. So I think you got to do the same thing on the offensive line.
And then you play mostly right tackle in Iowa. So Derek Jackson was suffered an injury. You had to slide over to the left side. So just talk about how that transition went for you. Do you like it on the left side or the right side? Is there really not a difference for you?
Yeah, it really doesn't matter to me. Coach Ferentz doesn't think there's much of a difference. I mean, I played right, like you said, for most of the time. I need to flip over to left. I would do it in the middle of series, in the middle of drives. So it doesn't really matter to me.
You're a rare breed of finesse, technique, and power. What do you think is your best attribute?
My best attribute? I don't know. I think I'm pretty powerful. I think I can move guys off the line of scrimmage.
You like pancakes?
I do like pancakes. What kind of pancakes? Like?
Beating a man so bad that he forces his kids.
Yeah, I like those. By the Eagles? I don't think so.
Any formals planned for the Bills?
Yeah, I had one yesterday. Yep. I don't know. I don't think I've had one with the Giants. I have 12 tomorrow, so that'll be a long day. I got a lot.
How do you view the conversation about, possibly guard, some of the draft analysts are talking about that?
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me too much. I just want to play, and if playing guard, is where they need me, I'll play that. I don't know if it's so much of a wake-up call. Coach Ferentz has always been on me about my hands, like carrying them higher in my sets. So I think him just being on me all the time, it's a little easier punching from having him up here than down by my waist. So I think it was just him harping on me for a while and finally figuring it out.
It was pretty tough leaving Georgia. I've been there for 3 years. It's given me a lot opportunity to take care of my family for a long time, but. Just talking to my family and my mentors and my coaches, it just made sense for me to come out.
Andrew, what have you drawn inspiration from through your career? Is there anything touchstone that you used to kind of inspire you to greatness?
Yeah, so I remember. So I don't know if you guys know, but I'm very musically inclined. All my family growing up in the church, played the drums, things like that. And my freshman year in high school, I was still in the band, enjoying everything, and my head coach, Chris Slade, told me that, I had a chance to write my own ticket playing football. And obviously I loved the game, but music was still, something very important to me. And he told me that, I got to put my focus on football, and that's what I did. I still love music, but, I put my all into football, and I'm here now.
So you couldn't be in the band anymore again?
I was still in it, but I wasn't, as into it as I was before. Yeah. I haven't. No. I don't have any formal schedule with them. I may, do an informal sometime. Most of the time, just chilling with the boys, playing video games, and a lot of times just watching movies, chilling. I think I'm all around the best. I think I can run block, I can pass block. I'm coachable, technician. I think that's what makes me the best. I played the drums in the band, and then when I went to college, obviously I couldn't do band anymore, so I tried to transition to learn how to play the piano. So at my high school, I would be at the pep rally, I would be playing in the band with my jersey on, and then I'll go over to the football team and then do the football thing. It was crazy. A lot of times I saw myself out there not blocking. I'm watching him just to see, what he can do because he's very, explosive. So it was pretty good to play with him. I think Swift, just his one-cut ability. You guys see it. He can just make a play out of no play sometimes. How quick he is. He's also elusive, too, so he's a pretty good back, yeah. It'll be crazy. Nick, he's a great guy. He's always mellow, just like how he is in college. He's a great running back, and it'll be a pleasure to block for him again. Very good. He was leading the NFL in rushing at a point in time. He's a very good back, and I think he's just tapping the tip of the iceberg.
Time for us to take a quick timeout. On the other side of the break, the NFL's draft analyst, Bucky-Brooks, will break it down and tell us who might be the best fit for the Browns as far as the offensive linemen go. You're watching a special edition of More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. We're at the NFL Scouting Combine in Indianapolis.
Get Nature Stone and never replace your basement flooring again. Your concrete is uneven, damp, and not healthy. Carpet and tile don't last, breed mold and mildew, and give worthless warranties. Nature Stone permanently corrects uneven concrete and is not affected by dampness or moisture. And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, there are no hidden maintenance costs. Act now and save up to 50% with our volume discount pricing. Must be installed by the end of February. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor, wow, it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
Welcome back to this special edition of More Sports and Less Levine, the weekend winners edition from the NFL Scouting Combine in Indianapolis. I'm Dave Bacon. So we heard from some of the offensive linemen the Browns might be interested in taking it number 10. Now we're going to hear from Bucky-Brooks, draft analyst for NFL Media. He's going to put some perspective to it and talk a little bit about this year's draft class.
It's a deep and talented class, especially at the top. They're guys that can come and be day one starters. When you think about the top of the board and where the Browns are picking at 10, they're going to have kind of their selection maybe. You have Jedrick Wills from Alabama. Some people would say he's the first one. When you look at him, he's very natural, kind of a dancing bear on the edge. You can see him play right tackle because he's solid. You think about Mekhi Becton, a guy who a lot of people haven't talked about, but then when you look at the athleticism, the light feet, the way that he plays, he's in the mix. Tristan Wirfs from Iowa. When you think about Iowa offensive linemen, technicians, experience, savvy, they have all those things. They typically play really well early, so he's in the mix. Andrew Thomas is there. There's so many guys that they can kind of pick and choose that they don't have to move. They could just wait and just take the best tackle that's available.
Is there any that really kind of separate him in your mind that you really like? I know Becton, he's huge.
Yeah, he's huge. He's athletic. It really comes down to style. What style player do you want for your style of offense? If you kind of want a road grader and a grinder, the Iowa kid may be the best one. Wirfs can be able to do it. Jedrick Wills can do that stuff. If you want a pass protector, then I think Becton kind of falls into that category. Andrew Thomas is a guy that's a bit of a blend. He can do a little bit of both, but I think he's a little bit away from those other guys. Regardless, you talk about good guys that can come in and play.
You're certain one of those guys could potentially be somebody that can fill one of those two slots day one?
Absolutely. I absolutely believe that those guys that we're talking about are day one starters. They come in, you put them right there in minicamp, and eventually they're going to be guys that can be 10-year players at that position. This is one of those things you have to decide, how do we want to play and what gives us the best opportunity to play the way we want to play with the tackle.
Do any of them jump out as a potential left tackle?
I think if you go back and you look at the history, most of those guys have kind of played on the left side. They are probably more experienced, and we're projecting that they'll be right tackle. Because the game has changed so much that, look, there's no separation between playing left and right. Teams are putting their best pass rusher at left defensive end, the other one at right defensive end and coming at you. So it doesn't matter. You have to be able to pass protect, but if you can run, it kind of gives you a run block. It gives you an added bonus.
Question, if Isaiah Simmons is sitting there when the Browns take it 10, is he the type of talent, given that they need tackles, is he the type of talent you look at and say, he might be too good to pass up?
Look, he's a dominant player, and he can do a variety of different things. I think the thing when you take a player like Simmons, a guy who's versatile, who had a ton of snaps at a bunch of different places, where are we going to put him? What is the plan going in? You have to have a clear plan for his utilization and usage. If you have a clear plan, then you can take him. But if you're unsure and you say, hey, we're going to take him and figure it out, that's the wrong way to do it. But I will say, he's one of the more talented players in this draft class.
We know you have a lot of talent at tackle in this draft. Is there another position that jumps out as being a deep position here?
Wide receiver. This wide receiver class is probably one of the best that we've seen. It's so good, in fact, that you could bypass first rounders and come up with a guy that can be a star in the second or third round, maybe even later. We've talked about it on the podcast, the Move 6 podcast. Daniel Jeremiah and I have talked about there may be 25 guys that go in the first 3 rounds, and who knows if those guys are hit. We have seen the A.J. Browns, we've seen the Michael Thomases, we've seen guys in the second and third round pop. I think this will be another year where we see guys taken on day 2 that emerge as stars at the position.
Time for us to step aside and take a quick break. On the other side of that break, we'll hear from cleveland.com Browns beat reporter Dan-Labbe. More sports and less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition, a special edition from the NFL Combine in Indianapolis. We'll be right back after this timeout.
Get Nature Stone and never replace your garage flooring again. Your concrete is cracked, uneven, and not safe. Paints and poly coatings don't last, are slippery, and give worthless warranties. Nature Stone permanently corrects cracked, uneven concrete, eliminates slipping hazards, and is easy to clean. And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, there are no hidden maintenance costs. Act now and save up to 50% with our volume discount pricing. Must be installed by the end of February. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
If a piston makes it go, it's in this show. March Motor Mania takes over the 2020 Summit Racing Equipment IX piston-powered Autorama. March 13th, 14th, and 15th at the IX Center. Show cars, antique trucks, construction equipment, hot rods in the Asylum, motorcycles, military vehicles, and themed car clubs. New for 2020, the Throwdown Monster Trucks, and the return of Fat Man's Invasion. With Euros, imports, sport compacts, and lowriders. It's 12 and under are free. PistonPowerShow.com for details. Discount tickets on sale at Discount Drug Mart locations and Summit Racing Equipment in Talmadge.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. Welcome back to this special edition of More Sports and Less Levine, the weekend winners edition from the Scouting Combine in Indianapolis. And we're pleased to be joined by cleveland.com beat reporter Dan-Labbe. Dan, appreciate the time as always. Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry, just some reactions to their addressing the national media.
Well, it was a lot of the same of what we've heard from them, right? Collaboration, kind of laying out their plan of what they see and working together. Andrew Berry was a little more clear on what he means when he says he's going to be aggressive. He kind of means a little more he's going to be opportunistic. So probably not going to spend a ton of money on that first day of the league year, but he's going to be looking for opportunities to improve this football team through the draft, through trades, through free agency. So, you know, they didn't say a lot, but I just think they continue to say the same things of they're together, they're working together, and they're seeking that collaboration.
It leads you to believe that there wasn't collaboration and that the divide between front office and coaching staff might have been greater than we even thought it was.
Yeah, there was something in that building, whether it was, you know, between Dorsey and the coaching staff or Dorsey and the analytics side and, you know, the football people versus the analytics people. There was something there. And it just, you get the sense that this is, again, a hard reset, going back to what they tried to start in 2016 when they brought in Sashi Brown, of course, when they first hired Andrew Berry, that they're going more back to that. And you just continue to get that over and over and over again. And look, the fact that we were talking to Kevin Stefanski a year after he kind of lost out on the coaching job, they bring in some of those front office guys again. He's the one talking today. It really tells you all you need to know.
When you look at it, they were not very forthcoming with what they wanted to do. It seems like, and when you pushed them on it, a competitive advantage. So I get it, but they're not saying much.
Yeah, they don't want to let anybody know what they're thinking, whether it comes to their own guys like Joe Schobert, David Njoku. They had great things to say about those guys, but they weren't really saying, even with fifth-year options, they didn't want to come out and say, yeah, we're going to pick up Miles' fifth-year option, we're going to pick up Njoku's fifth-year option. It makes sense to do that, but they didn't even want to give away that. So being very secretive here early on as they start. I mean, we're still a few weeks away from the start of the league year, so very secretive as we go into this.
Now, the other thing that it is apparent just in talking to them, they do have a plan. They've sat down and there will be targeted free agents, and you'll get an idea of what they're thinking in the draft based on who they target is kind of the way it sounds.
Yeah, I think so. And I don't think they're going to be afraid to necessarily double down. So maybe you sign a tackle and you draft a tackle. Maybe you draft a tight end and sign another, less expensive tight end, something like that. I think anything is on the board, but I do think there's going to be a clear, this is how we're going to approach free agency, and then this is how we're going to address these needs in the draft. It's not going to be just throw everything at the wall ball like John Dorsey did, kind of his approach in Kansas City and here, I think it's going to be a little more measured.
The other thing that I would wonder your read of it, say Isaiah Simmons is there at 10. Are they tempted by that, do you think?
I think you have to be, because he's so talented. But at the same time, if they believe that they need a left tackle and they could get a guy who can come in and start and be a starter for 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, there's a lot of value in that pick. It's going to be really hard to pass on that guy. But look, if Isaiah Simmons is there and they believe in the best player available, he might be the best player available. So it's going to be a really challenging decision for them if he somehow slides to number 10.
When you look at the way they're going about things, are you surprised by it? It's drastically different than John Dorsey and Freddie. I mean, it couldn't be more night and day.
I'm not surprised, because when you make changes like this and you wash everybody out and start anew, it's going to look 180 degrees different. But again, it is going back to a little bit more of that approach that we saw in 2016. Now, they're not going in, that asset acquisition mode. They are trying to win now. That's the key difference. But it's a similar approach under Paul DePodesta and, of course, Andrew Berry. So I'm not really surprised that they're going this route. And the thing that stood out to me, too, is, when they talk about collaboration, they don't just mention Stefanski and Berry. They talk about owners. They talk about other people in the organization. So this is from ownership on down. They want one shared vision. We'll see. We'll see what happens. It's easy to say in February and March. We'll see what happens in September.
The other thing, when you talk to national people, a lot of them are really impressed with Kevin Stefanski. It was really nice to hear across the board, pretty much.
And I think that's where optimism comes from, right? You see what he does with Kirk Cousins, and big personnel, multiple tight ends, a fullback on the field, and that's where Baker Mayfield is better, right? He's better with bigger personnel on the field. He's better, if you can roll him out of the pocket a little bit. Play action. I mean, his numbers, play action versus no play action, were night and day last year. Insanely different. So to have more play action and more of that for him and kind of take that Kirk Cousins approach, even though they're very different quarterbacks, if he can make Kirk Cousins look like a good quarterback, hopefully he can make Baker Mayfield look like a good quarterback.
Dan-Labbe, beat reporter for cleveland.com for the Cleveland Browns. Appreciate the time as always. We're here at the NFL Scouting Combine in Indianapolis. Time for us to take a quick time out. We will come back to Indianapolis and wrap up the special edition of More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners edition from the NFL Scouting Combine, downtown Indianapolis. Stay with us.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions, or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had two choices. I was accepted into a 4-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. That'll do it for this edition, a special edition of More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners edition from the NFL Scouting Combine in Indianapolis. Before we go, I want to remind you, legalized sports wagering just a little over an hour away from downtown Cleveland, Presque Isle Downs and Casino, right off of I-90 in Erie, Pennsylvania. 50 state-of-the-art Bet America sports kiosks. You can touchscreen bet. NFL draft. Joe Burrow, the overwhelming favorite to be the #1 pick in the draft, minus 5,000. means you have to bet $5,000 to make 100. That is the odds of Joe Burrow being the number one pick in the NFL draft. And again, legalized sports wagering, just a little over an hour away from downtown Cleveland, Presque Isle, Downs and Casino, Erie, Pennsylvania, right off of I-90, 27 miles into the state of Pennsylvania. That'll do it from the Scouting Combine in Indianapolis. We appreciate you joining us. Hope to see you back here next Friday on More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. Les Levine will be back in the chair for More Sports and Less Levine Monday night from 6 to 7. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you next week.